Welcome the Lord's chosen. Some lives come with insurance policies you never see until someone tries to cancel them. There's a strange pattern in this world that people don't like to admit. Certain individuals walk through chaos and somehow come out intact. Not untouched, not unhurt, but intact. Plans against them collapse, enemies overplay their hand, timing mysteriously shifts, and outcomes refuse to cooperate with intention. It's not because these people are louder, tougher, or morally superior. In many cases, they're just minding their business, trying to survive like everyone else, wondering why life keeps turning into a chess match they never agreed to play. Here's the uncomfortable fact. History, psychology, and even modern risk analysis all agree on one thing. Systems always protect what they need. Corporations insure key assets. Governments safeguard strategic figures. Even nature preserves certain traits because they serve a future function. When something carries long-term value, layers of protection form around it, not out of kindness, but necessity. That same principle shows up in human lives too, just without the paperwork. What makes this unsettling is that the protection isn't obvious. There's no dramatic rescue scene, no cape, no thunder, no announcement. It's subtler than that. Missed opportunities that should have been disasters. People who meant harm suddenly turning incompetent. Situations that looked fatal but somehow downgraded themselves to character building. It's the kind of help that doesn't feel helpful at the time, which is honestly rude if you think about it. And yes, it's a little ironic. The very people who attract the most interference often have backup they didn't request and wouldn't know how to file a complaint about. They still struggle, they still get tired, they still make questionable decisions at 2 a.m. like the rest of us. Yet when things go too far, something steps in and says, "That's enough." This isn't about ego, it's about function, about why some paths are guarded, why certain stories refuse to end early, and why messing with the wrong person can quietly become a very expensive mistake. Number one, you're protected because your path disrupts systems, not people. Being chosen doesn't mean you're inherently stronger, luckier, or morally superior. It means your existence shakes structures that depend on people staying small, predictable, and contained. Life isn't kind to anyone who interrupts the usual flow. Systems, whether social, professional, or even cultural, have rules designed to maintain order, not to reward individuality. When someone comes along who refuses to conform, who doesn't fit neatly into boxes, the system reacts. That reaction isn't personal, it's functional, it's automatic, and that's why protection comes in, not because you asked for it, but because the disruption you create cannot be ignored. The world often misunderstands what it means to have someone looking out for you. This protection doesn't show up as a visible shield or dramatic intervention. It manifests in ways that prevent the systems themselves from dismantling you before your work or purpose reaches its tipping point. Doors open just in time. Situations that could have consumed you lose their edge. People who mean harm miscalculate. The universe, or the forces that notice your trajectory, steps in not out of sentiment but necessity. Disruption carries risk, yes, but also influence. The bigger the system you shake, the more far-reaching the consequences of your survival. Those who are merely existing within the system rarely notice this. You do, because you feel the friction, the opposition, the constant tests. It's exhausting, but it's a marker of significance. You're protected not because the world owes you safety, but because your existence matters in a way that the ordinary doesn't account for. Understanding this changes how you see every challenge. It's no longer random misfortune or arbitrary interference. It's the natural resistance to someone who won't be corralled. Your protection is quietly embedded in that tension. The people, situations, and forces that collide with you often misread your trajectory, and in that misreading lies your survival. You're safeguarded because your path isn't about comfort or conformity. It's about changing the way systems operate, whether they like it or not. The moment you accept that, the chaos stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like the confirmation that you were never meant to be ordinary. Number 2, the resistance you face isn't personal, it's preventative. Most people assume that every obstacle, every antagonist, every unexpected complication is a personal attack. They believe someone is out to get them specifically, or that life itself has singled them out for hardship. That's a comforting story because it gives meaning to suffering, but it's rarely true. The reality is harsher and far more revealing. The resistance you face is preventative. It's a reaction not to who you are now, but to who you're clearly becoming. When someone senses your growth, your influence, or your potential to upset the status quo, the pushback begins. It doesn't matter if you've done anything overtly threatening. Merely existing as a force that could alter outcomes, shift expectations, or rewrite narratives is enough. People, systems, and circumstances react to prevent that evolution. The resistance is a warning sign, a marker of relevance. It's the universe, or whatever mechanism runs the world, acknowledging that your trajectory matters enough to challenge. This type of opposition is strategic. It comes in ways that seem personal at first: criticism, sabotage, jealousy, but it's broader than that. It's preventative armor thrown in your path by those who fear the change you represent. Those who oppose you are often operating out of instinct rather than malice. They're trying to stop consequences before they become unavoidable. They misjudge your timing, your resilience, and your awareness, but their intent is clear. They want to stall, distract, or slow the inevitable. Recognizing this transforms your perspective. You stop internalizing attacks as judgments on your character or worth. You see them as signs that you're moving along a path that matters. Resistance becomes proof, not punishment. It's an invisible checkpoint that measures how far you've come and how far you're about to go. The more intense the opposition, the clearer it is that you are advancing beyond ordinary limits. Understanding this allows you to navigate challenges without bitterness, without fear, and with a quiet acknowledgement that every block in your way is also an indicator that your influence is real, and that your chosen role in life is unfolding exactly as it should. Number 3, you don't attract enemies, you expose them. Being someone who is locked and loaded isn't about drawing conflict to yourself. It's about revealing what was already there. Most people carry hidden agendas, unspoken intentions, and selfish motivations. They thrive in shadows, manipulating, competing, or betraying without notice. When you enter their orbit, their masks slip. It's not that you provoke them deliberately. It's that your presence makes it impossible to hide the truth. That's why it often feels like the world is against you, even when you haven't done anything to deserve it. The world isn't against you. It's revealing itself. This exposure is brutal and uncompromising. People who seem trustworthy will act otherwise. Those who appeared supportive will show the edge of envy or fear. Situations that looked harmless suddenly reveal hidden pitfalls. You notice it, not because you're paranoid, but because you have the awareness to see beyond appearances. This is why being chosen is isolating in a sense. It makes you witness to the layers of reality most people live their entire lives without ever seeing. The people who oppose or challenge you are often not your real enemies. They are simply unmasked by your presence. The beauty of this is that it clears your path in ways subtle and powerful. Once someone's true nature is revealed, they either adjust, disappear, or act in ways that clarify their role in your life. There's no need to fight every battle because exposure does the work for you. What looks like friction is actually intelligence gathering at a cosmic level. It separates allies from pretenders, supporters from opportunists, and threats from distractions. This isn't luck or coincidence, it's function. You're allowed to exist in a way that tests the integrity of those around you, because your journey matters more than their comfort. Exposure ensures that only what is genuine aligns with you, and only what is capable survives in proximity to your mission. Being revealed, then, is not a curse. It's a filter, a mechanism of protection, and a sign that your presence carries weight. When people misbehave, falter, or overstep, it's not random. It's proof that your life is disrupting facades, shaking foundations, and separating truth from illusion. Number 4, help shows up because you're not allowed to quit. Life has a way of testing certain people harder than others, not because they're weak, but because they're essential. The pressure, the setbacks, the betrayals, they pile up in ways that would break almost anyone else. And yet when it seems like you've reached your limit, when exhaustion threatens to swallow you whole, something shifts. Help appears, often unexpectedly, as if the universe itself is saying, "You're not done yet." It doesn't show up for convenience or sympathy. It shows up because your role is too important to be abandoned, because quitting isn't an option. This help is never flashy or obvious. It's rarely a dramatic rescue or an intervention that announces itself. It comes in quiet ways that tip the scales just enough to keep you moving. The missed deadlines that suddenly resolve themselves, the people who step in without being asked, the moments when chaos miscalculates and gives you breathing room. These are the signs that you are being held in place, not by chance, but because your mission demands it. It's like a safety net woven from timing, circumstance, and unseen forces, always catching you before the fall becomes permanent. The reason is simple. Your story is bigger than your current struggle. The challenges you face are meant to shape you, but not to destroy you. If the weight became unbearable, if help didn't arrive in time, your purpose would be lost along with you. That's why interventions happen at critical moments. They're not random, they're strategic, calibrated to ensure that you survive long enough to reach the point where your influence matters most. This doesn't remove the pain, the fear, or the moments of doubt. You still feel them fully. But the fact that help shows up precisely when it does is a confirmation that your presence matters more than temporary defeat. The obstacles are real, the opposition is real, but so is the unseen support keeping you on track. Being not allowed to quit is a statement about your significance. It means that no matter how impossible things seem, your path will continue, your purpose will unfold, and someone, sometimes hidden, sometimes mysterious, will always be there to ensure you don't fall before your work is done. Number 5, the protection is quiet because it's strategic, not emotional. True protection doesn't come with fanfare or announcements. It doesn't roar, flash, or make itself obvious. When someone is locked and loaded to safeguard you, the intervention is precise, calculated, and invisible. It doesn't cater to drama because the stakes are higher than personal feelings or public recognition. The quiet nature of this protection is proof that it's not about sentiment. It's about outcomes. Every move, every adjustment, every seemingly coincidental advantage is part of a plan designed to maintain your trajectory without unnecessary interference. This kind of protection is often mistaken for luck or chance because it doesn't make noise. Doors open when they need to, timing shifts in your favor, and threats stumble in ways that seem improbable. But it isn't random. It's the world aligning in subtle ways to keep someone who matters intact. The goal isn't to prevent hardship entirely, that would be interference, not strategy, but to prevent irreparable harm. You still face challenges, mistakes, and even pain, but never enough to destroy your core. Every misstep or confrontation is counterbalanced by hidden measures ensuring survival, growth, and momentum. The quiet nature also allows you to grow without distraction. Loud interventions can create dependency, confusion, or a false sense of security. Strategic protection ensures you learn, adapt, and build resilience while remaining shielded from consequences that would compromise your mission. It doesn't fight your battles for you. It adjusts the battlefield in your favor without being noticed. What makes this truly extraordinary is that it's never personal. The forces working on your behalf don't operate from emotion or attachment. They operate from necessity, function, and timing. You are being preserved because your role matters, not because anyone likes you, feels sorry for you, or wants to see you succeed in a conventional sense. Understanding this changes how you see challenges. What feels like random chaos is often the system working with precision, keeping you alive, moving and aligned. Quiet protection isn't passive, it's deliberate, intentional, and brutally effective. And it's a sign that your presence, your influence, and your mission are far more significant than the visible world allows most people to realize. Number 6, you survive situations that were designed to break you. Some moments in life feel impossible, as if the universe itself is testing every limit you've ever had. The weight, the pressure, the betrayal, it all comes together in a way that seems calculated to destroy you, and yet somehow you endure, not by chance, not by luck, and certainly not by avoiding the challenges. You survive because the forces around you, seen or unseen, recognize that your story isn't over, that your presence matters more than the pain meant to stop you. Survival here isn't just about getting through. It's about outlasting circumstances that were specifically designed to make failure inevitable. The situations that test you are rarely straightforward. They are complex, layered, and relentless, coming from directions you couldn't anticipate. People, timing, and events collide in ways that should topple anyone unprepared. But there's a pattern. The challenges that seem most destructive also carry subtle protections. Doors that should have closed slam open at the right moment. Allies you didn't expect step in at the critical second. The very factors that should undo you miscalculate, giving you just enough room to regain your footing. This isn't luck, it's the alignment of circumstance and purpose. What makes it extraordinary is that surviving isn't the same as avoiding pain. You feel the stress, the fear, the uncertainty fully. You stumble, you question yourself, you face real consequences. But through all of it, the core of you remains intact. That's the marker of someone chosen. The world doesn't shield you from every blow. It ensures that the blows never destroy what matters most. Understanding this changes the way you approach difficulty. You stop seeing challenges as punishments or signs of weakness. They are indicators that your path is significant, that your presence matters in ways that disrupt the ordinary. Surviving designed to break you situations is a silent confirmation that your influence, your mission, and your essence are not negotiable. The world may test you, but it also keeps you standing until the right moment to rise fully. Endurance isn't an accident. It's a signal, a proof, and a built-in mechanism to ensure that the story you were meant to tell isn't cut short. Number 7. The attacks escalate because the window is closing. Pressure isn't random. Chaos doesn't appear out of nowhere. When someone is chosen, when their path carries significance far beyond ordinary perception, the challenges intensify over time. The attacks, opposition, and obstacles grow sharper, not because you're weaker or more flawed. They escalate because the window of opportunity for interference is closing. There comes a point when your growth, your clarity, and your influence are about to hit a tipping point, and anything standing in the way feels urgent to remove. The closer you get to that critical moment, the more desperate the world, or those resisting you, becomes. This escalation has a pattern. Small, subtle tests early on eventually evolve into direct, relentless confrontations. Timing shifts to make every decision feel heavier, every move more consequential. People who seemed indifferent suddenly become active threats. Forces that appeared passive now move aggressively. It's not coincidence. It's the natural reaction of systems, individuals, and circumstances that sense the change coming and want to slow it before it becomes unstoppable. What's fascinating, and often overlooked, is that this pressure is also a marker of progress. The stronger the resistance, the closer you are to breaking free from ordinary limitations. It's proof that your trajectory is no longer subtle, no longer easily ignored. If everything stayed calm, if opposition remained weak, it would actually be cause for concern. Intensity signals relevance. It confirms that you are moving toward a moment when your presence will have measurable impact, when the mission you're carrying cannot be delayed or derailed. Understanding this changes the way you handle escalation. You stop internalizing attacks as personal failures or signs of misfortune. You see them as deadlines in disguise, as challenges timed to test the readiness of your mind, your resolve, and your capacity to hold position. The closing window isn't punishment. It's a countdown, a signal, and a catalyst. It ensures that only those prepared, only those fully aligned, reach the point where their influence can no longer be ignored. Escalation becomes confirmation, not threat. And every intensified moment is proof that you are nearing the point where your power, impact, and purpose fully awaken. Number 8. You're guarded because your influence multiplies fast once activated. Some people operate quietly for a long time, their impact growing slowly, almost imperceptibly. Others, once they reach a certain point, ripple outwards with force and speed that surprises everyone, including those who thought they were safe from change. When someone is chosen, when their path carries weight beyond ordinary comprehension, the world instinctively places protection around them, not because they asked for it, not because anyone is sentimental, but because the moment their influence activates, it multiplies exponentially. A single action, decision, or word can set off a chain reaction that cannot be contained. That's why the forces around you remain alert, calibrated, and often invisible. This kind of protection isn't about preventing growth. It's about managing risk. The bigger the reach, the higher the stakes. If opposition were left unchecked, your influence could ripple in ways that destabilize systems, reveal hidden truths, or accelerate outcomes before the timing is right. The unseen safeguards, subtle interventions, and strategic alignments ensure that when you do move, your momentum can't be sabotaged prematurely. It's a quiet acknowledgement that someone whose trajectory multiplies fast cannot be left exposed. The reality is that influence, once activated, doesn't just affect you. It touches everyone in your orbit. Decisions you make, directions you take, and moments of clarity become catalysts for others. That kind of power is disruptive, and disruption is always monitored. Your protection, then, is a mechanism designed not to hinder, but to preserve the conditions necessary for maximum impact. It ensures you survive the critical moments when your presence becomes pivotal. Understanding this reframes pressure and opposition. They aren't arbitrary obstacles. They're calibrations to measure your readiness, to prepare the environment for your influence to unfold without unnecessary interference. Being guarded is not a luxury. It's a strategic necessity. It acknowledges that when you finally step fully into your role, your influence will multiply faster than anyone anticipated, and nothing will be allowed to derail that trajectory. You are not just protected, you are preserved for impact, because your activation matters more than the temporary chaos that surrounds you. Number 9, you don't need to fight back because the fight isn't yours. When you are someone whose path carries weight, whose presence shifts dynamics, the natural reaction is often to confront every threat, push back against every challenge, and try to control outcomes directly. That instinct feels righteous, even necessary, but in reality, the real battles you face are rarely meant to be fought by you. The protection surrounding you, whether visible or invisible, operates in ways that deflect, neutralize, or recalibrate opposition before it reaches the point where your direct action is required. The fight belongs to the forces aligned with your purpose, not to your ego, not to your immediate impulses, and not to the narratives of personal retaliation. This doesn't mean you are passive or weak. On the contrary, choosing not to fight at the wrong moment requires awareness, patience, and trust in the system that guards your path. Every confrontation you avoid unnecessarily preserves your energy, focus, and clarity. The world, circumstances, and even people around you will often do the heavy lifting for you, exposing threats, miscalculating their timing, or self-sabotaging under pressure. The illusion is that you must defend yourself at every turn, but real protection functions silently, allowing you to maintain your trajectory while opposition falls into place on its own. Understanding this principle changes how you approach tension. You no longer expend effort reacting to minor disruptions, petty attacks, or calculated misdirection. You observe, assess, and conserve your energy for the moments that truly demand your intervention. The fight that seems immediate often isn't urgent. It's noise designed to distract you from the path that actually matters. The true defense is the alignment that works on your behalf, whether through circumstance, timing, or hidden intervention. Recognizing that the fight isn't yours also fosters confidence. It reveals that influence, power, and survival are rarely about aggression. They are about alignment, strategy, and purpose. When the stakes are high, the right battles are handled without your constant struggle. Your role is clarity, focus, and forward movement. Everything else, including opposition, is being managed by forces calibrated to keep you intact and on course, ensuring that when real action is required, it lands with maximum impact rather than wasted effort. Number 10, you're allowed to be flawed and still protected. One of the most misunderstood aspects of being someone chosen or locked and loaded is the idea that perfection is required. It isn't. Protection doesn't hinge on moral purity, flawless decisions, or an untouchable ego. In fact, it thrives precisely because you are human, flawed, and prone to mistakes. What matters is function, purpose, and alignment with the path you are meant to walk. You are preserved not because you never stumble, but because your presence matters more than any individual error or misstep. Flaws, weaknesses, and vulnerabilities do not disqualify you. They make the protection more sophisticated. Forces guarding you don't work on the assumption that you are untouchable. They work to ensure that mistakes don't destroy what cannot be replaced. Timing, circumstances, and even people often shift in ways that compensate for your gaps. The missed opportunities that could have ended you fail to land. Threats that should have capitalized on weaknesses miscalculate. The world or the systems aligned with your mission adapts to preserve the essential while allowing you to experience the lessons that growth demands. This doesn't mean you avoid consequences. You still face challenges, judgment, and setbacks. But the pressure is calibrated. It never crosses the line into permanent derailment. Your flaws are like cracks in a vessel, visible, sometimes letting in water, but never enough to sink it. This balance is essential because it allows you to grow, learn, and develop resilience while remaining intact. Understanding this changes how you approach life. You stop fearing imperfection as a fatal flaw. You recognize that being protected isn't about being invincible. It's about being functional, impactful, and aligned despite imperfections. Real protection is practical, not moralistic. It doesn't demand perfection. It demands significance. Your survival and progress are determined not by how flawless you are, but by how necessary you are to the story that is unfolding. You are allowed to be flawed, and in that allowance lies one of the greatest secrets of why chosen individuals endure, rise, and ultimately fulfill roles that would break anyone else who tried to do the same. Number 11. The protection doesn't remove pain, it limits the damage. Being chosen, being locked and loaded, doesn't mean life spares you from pain. You still experience betrayal, failure, heartbreak, and the heavy weight of circumstances that feel beyond control. The difference is not in the absence of difficulty, but in the boundaries around it. Protection isn't about creating a perfect life. It's about ensuring that the blows you take never strike deep enough to destroy the core of who you are or the purpose you carry. Every hardship hits, but never with enough force to derail your trajectory entirely. This type of protection is precise and deliberate. Challenges, setbacks, and even attacks are allowed to reach you only in ways that build strength, sharpen discernment, or clarify priorities. They are calibrated, as if the world itself knows exactly how much you can endure without tipping into permanent damage. A failure that should have crushed someone else becomes a lesson for you. A betrayal that could have ended trust instead illuminates who is real. Even moments of doubt or despair carry a hidden hand that ensures survival, resilience, and the capacity to continue forward. The extraordinary part of this protection is how subtle it is. You feel the pressure, you experience the loss, and the chaos seems overwhelming at times. Nothing is hidden. Pain is felt fully. But the system at work ensures that the damage is never irreparable. It preserves your ability to rise, adapt, and reclaim control even when the world seems determined to push you under. Understanding this shifts perspective. Life's hardships are no longer arbitrary punishments or random cruelty. They are part of a framework designed to keep you alive, intact, and functional at critical moments. You endure, you grow, and you survive with the sense that nothing, however sharp or sudden, can take away the essence of who you are or the path you are walking. The protection is not about comfort. It's about survival, resilience, and the capacity to fulfill what you were chosen to accomplish. Pain exists, but it is never allowed to destroy you completely. Number 12. People who target you often self-destruct later. One of the most fascinating patterns of being someone chosen, someone whose presence carries weight, is how opposition often ends up undermining itself. People who deliberately try to interfere, sabotage, or manipulate your life rarely succeed in the long term. It isn't immediate, and it isn't always obvious. The consequences of their actions usually unfold slowly, almost invisibly, but they do unfold. Those who aim at you with intent to harm often create conditions that trap them, miscalculate their influence, or reveal flaws that lead to their own downfall. This isn't about revenge or cosmic justice. It's about alignment. Forces around you, circumstances, and even human psychology conspire in subtle ways to preserve your trajectory while exposing the instability of those who oppose you. The attacks you face might feel intense, unfair, or even crushing in the moment, but they carry hidden lessons and built-in fail-safes. Your opposition often overextends, misreads timing, or underestimates your resilience. Those miscalculations don't just protect you, they turn the aggressor's energy inward. The very effort they pour into trying to derail you often becomes the mechanism that unravels them. The beauty of this dynamic is that it doesn't require action on your part. You don't have to retaliate, prove yourself, or plan counters. The universe, systems, and circumstances often work in ways that ensure balance. The same intensity, cunning, and aggression your enemies employ against you is redirected back toward them through natural consequence. Their downfall is rarely immediate or dramatic. It's often quiet, gradual, and inevitable. Recognizing this changes how you view attacks and resistance. You stop seeing opposition as a permanent threat and begin to see it as a measure of significance. Those who target you are doing so precisely because your presence matters enough to provoke strong reactions. Their eventual unraveling is proof not of your vengeance, but of a natural order. Energy aimed to destroy someone aligned with purpose ultimately rebounds. Understanding this allows you to move forward without fear, bitterness, or obsession, knowing that the forces threatening you are often working against themselves while leaving you intact, growing, and increasingly untouchable. Number 13. You're being kept intact because others will depend on your clarity. Being chosen isn't just about surviving, thriving, or walking a path of significance. It's also about the ripple effect of your presence. Some people are preserved not for their own sake alone, but because the clarity they hold, the vision they carry, and the decisions they make will directly affect others. You are being kept intact because your insight, your perspective, and your alignment are needed by those who are too lost, too distracted, or too inexperienced to navigate the same terrain. Your survival ensures that guidance, direction, and influence remain available when it matters most. This doesn't mean life will spare you from struggle or pain. You will still face opposition, uncertainty, and moments that challenge your focus. The difference is that nothing you encounter will be allowed to destroy the essence of what you contribute. Situations may be chaotic, people may betray or mislead, but the core of your clarity, the part of you that sees patterns, makes sense of chaos, and takes decisive action, remains protected. That clarity isn't optional, it is essential. The world, in ways often invisible, works to preserve it, because your decisions will shape outcomes far beyond what you can immediately perceive. The weight of this responsibility is subtle but immense. It explains why certain moments feel like tests, why opposition often appears when momentum builds, and why survival feels almost orchestrated. You are a pivot point, a source of influence whose steadiness affects more than just your life. Allies, communities, and even strangers may unknowingly rely on the decisions you make and the clarity you maintain. Understanding this transforms how you handle challenges. You realize that endurance, focus, and perspective are not just personal virtues. They are functional necessities for everyone whose lives intersect with yours. You are preserved not because you are exempt from struggle, but because the world requires that your mind, your vision, and your integrity remain intact. Others depend on your ability to remain steady, to see clearly, and to act decisively. Your clarity is not just your own. It is a tool, a safeguard, and a beacon that ensures the impact of your journey extends far beyond what you can immediately measure. Number 14. The protection exists because your story isn't finished yet. One of the most powerful truths about being chosen or locked and loaded is that the forces guarding you aren't arbitrary. They are invested in your continuation. You are being preserved because your story, your purpose, and your influence are unfinished. Every challenge, every obstacle, every seemingly random turn of events is part of a narrative that is still unfolding. The protection around you is like a quiet editor, ensuring that the plot isn't cut short before it reaches the chapters that matter most. Life will still test you. You will face adversity, mistakes, and opposition that feels relentless. But nothing in these trials is meant to end your journey prematurely. Timing, circumstances, and even the actions of others often bend subtly to keep you in motion, to prevent fatal derailment. and to maintain the integrity of the story only you can tell. This is why some situations that should have destroyed you instead strengthen you, why enemies who should have succeeded against you fail, why opportunities and interventions appear at the exact moment you need them most. Understanding this reframes the way you see obstacles. Challenges are no longer purely threats. They are markers of continuation, evidence that your path matters. Every moment of tension, pressure, or struggle is a reminder that your story has purpose and urgency. You survive not because life is fair, but because your mission isn't complete. Every step you take, every decision you make, is part of a trajectory that requires endurance, insight, and resilience. This awareness also changes the way you approach fear, doubt, and uncertainty. Knowing that protection exists because your story isn't finished allows you to move forward with quiet confidence. You don't need to control everything or fight every battle personally. You need only to stay aligned, keep moving, and trust that the mechanisms preserving your journey are working. The world may challenge you, test you, and push you to the edge, but the underlying truth is that your story is still being written. The forces around you exist to ensure that it continues, powerfully, fully, and without premature interruption. You are still here because there is more for you to do, and nothing will be allowed to stop that before it's time. Conclusion: being chosen, being locked and loaded, isn't about luck, privilege, or ego. It's about function, purpose, and timing. Every challenge you face, every person who tests you, every seemingly impossible moment is a sign that your path carries weight far beyond ordinary comprehension. The protection around you, quiet, strategic, and relentless, is not sentimental. It's precise. It ensures that you survive, endure, and rise, even when circumstances seem designed to break you. You don't attract enemies, you reveal them. You don't fight every battle. The fight often isn't yours. You are allowed to be flawed, and you still remain indispensable. Opposition escalates, threats miscalculate, and help appears at the exact moment you need it most, all because your story isn't finished yet. The beauty of this truth is that it transforms struggle into clarity. Every setback becomes a lesson, every misstep becomes a marker of alignment, and every attack becomes evidence of significance. You are preserved not for comfort, not for ego, but for impact. Your presence, your decisions, and your clarity are needed in ways that ripple far beyond your immediate perception. The world conspires, subtly and deliberately, to ensure that your influence multiplies, that your trajectory continues, and that your mission unfolds exactly as it should. Surviving isn't random. Thriving isn't accidental. You are here because your purpose demands it, and nothing, no opposition, no misfortune, no mistake, can permanently stop what is meant to unfold. So embrace your path with unwavering awareness. Recognize the protection, trust the timing, and honor the mission. Your story is still being written, and the chapters ahead are reserved for those who endure, who remain aligned, and who refuse to be derailed. If this message resonated with you, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more insights that uncover truths you won't hear anywhere else. Don't forget to like, comment your thoughts, and share this with someone who needs to hear it today. Your journey is extraordinary. Let's navigate it together. Stay blessed always.